I remember in Cuba as a young boy, I used to love to swim in the sea. And I used to open my eyes under the water to be able to see the world under the water. And of course, when you do that, you know, your eyes burn because it's salty water and it hurts. And at the end of the day, all you see is a blurry picture with no information whatsoever. But one day, someone gave me a diving mask. And when I put that on and I went down there and I had a second look at that blurry picture, suddenly everything was in front of me, everything, all the details were there, and it was beautiful. And research is like that. You know, you have to take a lot of pain when you do it, and there is a lot of anxiety involved with that. But research is also having someone give you that mask one day.
16th, 17th century, they often use the word discover in terms of uncover or take off a disguise. You know, at the end of Shakespeare's plays, they discover themselves. And I like that notion because it gives you the sense that one of our jobs is to point out foolishness or fraud or silliness or corruption or bad thinking, deception, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's important to discover in that sense, not as though we can objectively figure out the world so much. That's an important job, but also figure out how we fit into it and where we've messed it up or how we're deceiving ourselves, how we've become too smug.
When we say the word for walking out of balance, defined in Cree, it means you are leaving your mother's embrace. That is a literal translation, but the philosophical meaning behind it is that you are walking out of balance with Mother Earth. You leave your mother's embrace.
I really think that the focus has been too much on growth and not enough on sustainability. I cringe at how much waste we're producing as a society. And that's really where I want to direct my research, is to secondary waste resource management. So looking at ways that we can create a new resource from our waste product. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So I'm looking in the trash heap for my treasure.
I always tell graduate students that if you don't have imagination, if you don't think you can be creative, you might as well do something else. Because without creativity, you're always going to be a mediocre scientist. With creativity, you could change the world.
For some people, there's no better life than the life of the mind. You're always alive there. There's always, that's a place of truth and adventure and of joy and of discovery.
I think we do things to teach ourselves what we already know about ourselves. And one way that I do that is by giving people a piece of clay and asking them to close their eyes and put their hands on the clay and get out of the way and just know, all they know is they have the focus of a face. A face is going to emerge from the clay, and they have to work and push and pull till a face emerges. And they work and work and work and work and work, and then when they look, they are so amazed and surprised. They don't know how it happened. They can't believe they did it because it's so beautiful and so bizarrely wonderful and so alive. And they put it on and they look in the mirror, and immediately, well, even before they look in the mirror, it starts to move them around. And they don't know what they're doing. And that's the most rich place you can be.
We find ourselves at the frontier of the research in this transition from one paradigm, which was traditional interstate politics, to what we call global politics. The world has now become a global village. Canada is like a microcosm of this global village. The diversity that we have here at the university, which was surprising to me when I first came, because we always thought of the West as being sort of very monolithic. But in fact, it's a very heterogeneous and very diverse campus. And the fact that we have a president being installed who is Sri Lankan born and from a third world country, essentially, and a woman of color, indicates that kind of diversity.
We like to talk about research as being about the discovery of new knowledges. But we have to remember that the world is full of forms of culturally specific old knowledge that are still new to most of us. And so this is what we must dare, to be radically inclusive, not just of people, but also of different ways of knowing.
Our people are engaged at a time where we need to question what we believe to be true in ourselves. And I think that's the very same challenge that this university is undertaking itself. Let's challenge the orthodoxy of the Western Academy, but also as Indigenous people, let's challenge ourselves around the orthodoxy of what we assume to be our culture and traditions.
There's so many kind of stereotypes and assumptions in our society that get put into play, and it's so easy to get caught up in them. And you don't even realize it. So I've been becoming more aware of what's going on in society and how things are playing out in terms of these youth.
The condition that's necessary for the creation of, for a culture that can be creative and it can be productive in terms of discovering and recreating the world is community and the kind of exchange that takes place in a community. The thing that is most remarkable about one's career as an academic, about my career in academic, the thing, looking back at the tail end of my career, the thing that I value most is the people I've worked with.
Because for the first time, the biologists are talking to the chemists, who are talking to the physicists, who are talking to the chemical engineers, who are talking to the mechanical engineers. All of a sudden, we're using the same instruments. We're asking the same questions. I think for the first time, at least as a group, in scientific history.
It's actually what's called lateral thinking, taking things that are totally unrelated and putting them together. And that's what gives you the whole new perspective. Talking to the people over at Health Law and a sociologist that we're working with to try and find out about social implications of what we do, they bring up whole new perspectives that I would never have dreamed were relevant. And not only are they relevant, they help us to reformulate how to do the research.
I think that stem cell research is a wonderful example of that, but we've got a lot more issues in the future. We have nanotechnology, we have new applications of genetic technologies, we have prenatal diagnosis that I think is going to become more common in the future. So society is just now wrestling with these topics, and I think that we've got to develop new regulatory frameworks, new ways for society to deal with these issues so we can do it in a socially responsible manner.